Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
On News Hour tonight, Federal Capital Territory Administration demolishes 480 shops at UTC complex to give way for renovation. Elected PDP members asked to close rank as Bauchi State Governor emerges chairman PDP Governors Forum. Party braces off to be real opposition party. Bandits killed 6 people in a renewed attack on farmers in Maradu local government area of Zamfara State. And on the foreign scene, death toll surfaces 280, hundreds injured in triple train crash worst in over 2 decades as President Tinubu commiserates with India. Hello and welcome to Trust News Hour. I am Abdurrahman Omar. Thanks for joining. And now the news in full. The Joint Task Force of the Federal Capital Territory Administration has demolished the UTC shopping complex at Garki Area 10, Abuja. The demolition of the 30-year-old structure that was carried out in the early hours of Saturday caught most of the shop owners unaware. With many shedding tears as a result of the exercise, the task force barricaded the area and used tear gas to ward off any resistance from a pocket of shop owners who were at the scene at the time of the demolition. Over 480 shops were demolished when the Joint Task Force of the FCTA stormed the area and prevented shop owners from salvaging valuable items from their shops before the demolition began. Some of the affected persons lamented huge losses as a result of the demolition, saying the FCTA task force declined all entreaties to allow them to salvage some of their wares in the shops. In reaction, the FCTA said the complex had to be demolished to give way for the needed rebounding of the place. The Deputy Director Monitoring and Inspection Department of Development, Hassan Obole, said the demolition of the complex was to restructure it into a befitting shopping center required to grow SMEs to address global business needs and challenges. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has asked elected members of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) to unite the party and make a real opposition, even as he hopes to reclaim his electoral victory at the Election Petition Tribunal. Atiku Abubakar made the call during a special PDP retreat for the elected officials held at the Banquet Hall Government House, Bauchi. Adamu Imam reports.
The stakeholders of the People's Democratic Party converge in Bauchi to chart way forward after losing 2023 presidential election and governorship election in Sokoto and Benue states, though the party retained sizable number of seats in the 10th Assembly. The gathering recorded large turnout of elected party members at national and the states level. Presidential candidate of the party Atiku Abubakar re-echoed his determination to be Nigeria's president, urging members to unite and close ranks.
You must remember those and that Nigerians expect your work as National Assembly members to reflect those promises that we made to them. That you are not currently in the INEC selected governing party is not an adequate excuse.
Some of the party chieftains stressed the need for party supremacy, explaining it is time members maintain some semblance of political maturity and sophistications in the Nigerian politics.
We know it, and we have a responsibility to mobilize like minds to build a party that will be responsive to the aspirations of Nigerians.
Conflicts with the governors and within our ranks serve only to divide us and undermine our shared objectives. Our governors are partners in progress, and it is by working with them, not against them, that we can effect the desired change.
It's only when we work together and they work together with their governors that they can escalate it to the national level, to bring to the forefront issues as they relate to their various states and as they disturb their states, because they are the representative of both the governor and the people from their various states to the national level.
If we are united,
no matter the circumstances, no matter the challenges, we will eventually, within the context of the optics, in content and in character, manifest good opposition. And that will be for the betterment of Nigerians.
Former Governor Kaduna State Senator Ahmed Makarfi and the host Governor Bala Mohammed also speaks on key issues that need to be addressed to make the party stronger.
There's a time you collaborate, even with the majority legislators or those in government. There are times you oppose except if you are defeated.
Government will come and go, but our country will remain. And as a responsible opposition, we must, where it is required, do things in the interest of this country. Because if there's no Nigeria, then there's no us.
Seyi Makinde, Governor of Oyo State, PDP members agreed to support their candidates at various election tribunals to reclaim their electoral victories. Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed and his Rivers State counterpart, Siminalayi Fubara, emerged chairman and vice chairman of PDP Governors Forum. And the Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
John Kizito has emerged Speaker of Taraba State House of Assembly after inauguration of the 11th Assembly. The inauguration followed Governor Abu Kefa's proclamation. Report.
After reading the proclamation for the inauguration of the 10th Assembly, Clerk of the House, Mele Ogungu, called for nomination from members to elect a new Speaker of the House. Member representing Wukari 2 constituency, Josia Yaro Angie, nominated John Kizito Benzina, representing Zin constituency, to retain his position as a Speaker of the House.
I want to promise to an open door policy. In particular, I also want to make possible for my brothers. I therefore appeal to you for your cooperation to support and prayers for the success of this assembly.
Members agreed that Kizito to remain the Speaker of the House. Hamma Adams Abdullahi also emerged Deputy Speaker, and the duo were sworn in immediately. The Speaker performed his first official function by swearing in members of the Assembly.
The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and that I will abide by the code of conduct contained in the 5th schedule to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So help me God.
Out of 24 members of Taraba State House of Assembly, PDP leads with 13 members, followed by APC with 7 and NNPP with 2. SDP and APGA have 1 member each. In the meantime, Governor Abu Kefa has asked residents to support the new administration to ensure security and safety of the people in the state. The governor told newsmen that his administration will give chance to the younger generation to showcase their talent. In the press briefing, Kefa promised to go around the 16 local government of the state to ascertain the level of their achievement so as to know the necessary projects that need to be considered in order to set the state running to ensure the well-being of the indigents.
I have to carry people along so that it won't be as if I'm taking decision on my own. Already I have input. I need to consult very widely. I need to allow people from their community to make contribution so that we work together as a team. So that I won't be like Mr. No.
Taraba State has been battling with communal unrest, banditry, and kidnap for ransom.
The Oyo State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal has dismissed the petition by the Action Alliance Party A against Governor Seyi Makinde and the PDP. The court sitting at Yagonku Ibadan also awarded the sum of 600,000 against the petitioner. The three-man panel tribunal are Justice Ejuru Emude Nohu, Justice Baraka Aiwali, and Justice I.S. Galadima. The chairman of the tribunal, Justice Ejuru Emude Nohu, in her ruling dismissed the petition and awarded a cost of 100,000 to the first respondent, 250,000 to second respondent, and 250,000 to the third respondent, respectively. The petitioner's lawyer, Oru Etibu, had told the court that he wanted to discontinue and withdraw his petition. He tendered his apology to the tribunal and senior counsels. In his reaction to the ruling, the lead counsel to the appellants, Kule Kalajei, called for the amendment of the electoral law.
We actually withdrew the matter in the interest of justice, in the interest of peace, in the interest of tranquility in Oyo State. That is why we withdrew the application. We reviewed our position and we said it is best we withdraw the application for peace to reign.
The Electoral Act ought to be amended to create a threshold that if you have not scored at least a quarter of all the total votes cast in the state, you should not come to the election tribunal. It is high time we looked at the provisions of our electoral law so that only serious petitioners will have access to the courts. I think a threshold should be created that if you have not won XY number of votes, which constitute 25% of the total number of votes in the whole state, you should not come to the tribunal. Because if not, unserious petitions like this will abound.
Kogi State government and SDP governorship candidate for the November 11 governorship election in Kogi State, Murtala Ajaka, have traded words over attacks on convoy of Governor Yahaya Bello on Saturday. The Commissioner for Information, Kingsley Fanu, alleged that SDP political talks attacked convoy of Governor Bello around Navy quarters near Lokoja, the capital, when the governor was returning from Abuja on official assignment. The Commissioner said the governor left the scene unscathed and there is no cause for panic as the governor is in high spirit. Fanu, however, said some security men and other aides attached to the governor sustained some degrees of injuries and have been rushed to medical facilities for medical attention. Responding to the Commissioner's claims, media aide to the SDP governorship candidate Kule Afolayo denied the allegations, saying it was APC political talks that attacked them on their way to the palace of Maigaru Lokoja from Kotun Karifi Afolayo. Afolayo said the APC administration in Kogi is using government's might to lie against SDP for a crime they committed against them. Kogi State Police Public Relations Officer PPRO SV William Aya did not respond to inquiries on the incident. In the meantime, Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello has vowed to crush anyone or group of persons bent on breaching the pace and progress of the state. The governor said this at the government house in Lokoja on Saturday while unveiling the ruling made to the All Progressives Congress APC party governorship candidate Ahmed Ododo for the November 11 governorship election in the state. He said there is no hiding place for any political talks, miscreant or whoever is hiding under politics to perpetrate evil in the atmosphere of Kogi, stressing that his administration will go after such people and bring them to justice. The APC named Joel Salihu as the running mate to its standard bearer, Ahmed Ododo, in November governorship election in the state. Salihu was a former state chairman of Nigerian Union of Teachers, NUT. The former chairman of the disciplinary committee of the Park Management System PMS in Oyo State, Mukaila Lamidi, has said the police in the state cannot declare him wanted. Lamidi, popularly known as Auxiliary, said this while speaking on a live radio program in Ibadan on Saturday morning. The Oyo State Police Command on Friday said the Lamidi had been declared wanted due to some allegations levied against him. Lamidi has, however, said that the police could not declare him wanted because he did not fight anyone. He added that all the allegations levied against him are not correct. Lamidi, who spoke in Yoruba language, added that he will support whatever the state governor Seyi Makinde wants, adding that he had warned his followers not to fight anyone because no one can fight the government and go away with it. No fewer than 26 persons were killed by suspected terrorists who launched a renewed attack on farmers at Jamboku, Sakida and Solawa villages of Maradu local government area of Zamfara state. Eyewitness accounts said the terrorists attacked the farmers when they were preparing their farms for this year's farming season in the morning hours of Saturday, June 3rd. Sources from the troubled communities said 21 persons were killed at Jamboku, while 5 persons from Sakida and 2 at Sola were left with different degrees of injuries. They confirmed that the 21 persons who were killed at Jamboku have been buried, adding that the other 5 from Sakida community have also been buried according to Islamic rites. The police public relations officer of Zamfara State Command ASP Yazid Abubakar confirmed the incident. At least 2 soldiers were reportedly killed and several others injured when the Islamic State of the West African province ISWAP terrorist attack reinforced troops with a vehicle-borne improvised explosive device, BBED, in Abadam local government area, Borno State. It was guarded that the troops who were on reinforcement to boost the task force of Sector 3 and Sector 4 Multinational Joint Task Force MNGTF in Gerere and Arigi came under attacks by a VBED. Reports say during the attack, 2 soldiers were killed, while several other soldiers were injured. Sources said the troops later repelled the attack and held their position and equipment. The number of terrorists killed, including the suicide bomber, was unconfirmed. The ISWAP terrorists have intensified attacks using BVED and mines to prevent troops' incursion into their enclaves. The troops of Operation Hadden-K and Multinational Joint Task Force had, since May 6 and 28, eliminated 55 ISWAP terrorists, including some top commanders, in a major offensive in the terrorist hideout in the fringes of Arige in Malam Faturi, Abadam local government area of Borno State. Stay. Okay. In a bid to end frequent farmers-harvest clashes in villages of Mangu and Riom local government areas of Plateau State, stakeholders have met to find solutions to the problem. Villages of Mangu came under attack by gunmen recently, where over 150 people, including women and children, were killed, igniting retaliatory attacks. Ado Musa completes the report.
The stakeholders, including the state governor, Caleb Mutfwan, his deputy, Josephine Pio, traditional rulers of Mangu, leadership of Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria in the area, among others, meet to find lasting solution to the clashes. Governor Mutfwan, while speaking at the meeting, calls on people of the area to ensure unity and show love for one another, assuring them that government will do all it could to address the plight of the IDPs affected by the recent attacks.
It is on the point to have lived in peace, multicultural, multi-religious. This is happening now, worsening by the day. But by the grace of God, we intend that we will arrest the situation. We're going to look at it from different dimensions. The immediate issue is to deal with the welfare and well-being of the displaced people. They are facing a lot of trauma. We need to address those concerns. They are living in horrible conditions. We need to look after their well-being in a holistic manner.
The Magban chairman in the area, Abubakar Soda, assured the governor of their maximum support to secure lasting peace in Mangu and its environs. Both farmers and herders were affected in the crisis. We thank the governor for coming down to condole with the people of Mangu. We have listened to the governor, and I'm assuring him that we will give him the maximum cooperation to ensure peace. But on his part, a leader of Magavul in the area, Joseph Twang, says he is not confident with the peace process, saying a lot needs to be done as farmers can no longer go to their farms for fear of being killed by the herders.
Sir, we are happy that you have come. This is the first time a sitting governor will come in to meet us, to commiserate with us, and also to talk about peace. We are ready to follow, sir. But we are saying it here clearly, those who have violated that initial resolution should be called to account. It is only this way that we are sure that our security and safety will be guaranteed.
Stakeholders say mere commitment to resolve the problem between herders and farmers will not help. They say until warring parties develop sincerity of purpose, the problem will linger. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
The new Commissioner of Police deployed to Rivers State, Polycarp Emaka, has warned corrupt police officers in the state command to turn a new leaf, as he will not tolerate compromise and human rights abuses. In a maiden meeting with newsmen, Emeka, who took over from Okun Effiong Okun, noted that his primary assignment in the state was to protect life and property, restating his zero tolerance for corruption. He announced that monitoring teams will go round to monitor the activities of his men and officers.
Is strategic to the economic fortunes of the country. It therefore follows that so much needs to be done to curtail and minimize the security challenges arising from, given the peculiar social/economic environment and the volume of human trafficking. Let me state categorically that I am here in the state to tackle crime and criminality. Intelligence-led policing is in vogue. We shall deploy available technology and also rely on other sources of generating information and intelligence in the discharge of our duties. Community policing has been widely accepted worldwide. It is a working partnership with the police and other stakeholders to prevent crime, arrest offenders, and find solutions to the problems, as well as enhance the quality of life.
You are watching Trust News Hour. We take a look after the break. We take a look at coming off after the break. We take a look at what this year's rains have in store for us. Details of this and more after the break.
of efforts to support Africa's goal of strengthening.
Now looking at the activity chart, as you can see right here, a total volume of 130.
Created a Boko Haram crisis that at that time was restricted to Yobe.
How secure are they? You can see security men with blood.
This is the road leading up to the...
Already, if you look at English squad, you are looking at EPL, you are looking at their names. You are not looking at...
Welcome back, and if you are just joining us, this is Trust TV's News Hour. Now we take a look at the recap of our top stories. We told you that Federal Capital Territory Administration demolishes 480 shops at UTC complex to give way for renovation. And elected PDP members asked to close ranks as Bauchi State Governor emerges chairman PDP Governors Forum. Party praises off to be a real opposition party. And now the news. Kano State Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf has commenced the demolition of structures believed to be illegally erected on properties belonging to the government. Trust TV gathered that late Friday night, a task force set up by the governor began the demolition of structures built inside the Kano racecourse. Recall that the governor had in his inauguration speech have a marching order to security agencies in the state to immediately take over all public properties sold by the administration of former Governor Umar Abdullahi Ganduje. The federal government has banned underage children from participating in the National Common Entrance Examination for admission into the Unity schools across the country. Government has accordingly directed the National Examination Council (NECO) to put strict measures in place to prevent underage persons from registering for the examination, including making birth certificate compulsory as registration requirement. Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Education David Andrew Adejo gave the directive on Saturday in Abuja while monitoring the conduct of the 2023 Common Entrance Examination into the 110 federal government colleges across the Federation. A total of 72,821 candidates sat for the examination on Saturday nationwide. Adejo noted that to get into secondary, a candidate should be at least 12 years, adding that one could be 11 plus during the examination, and by September, such a person will have attained the age of 12 years. The Permanent Secretary, after monitoring the exercise at the Federal Government Girls College, Buari, and Government Day Secondary School, Buari said he was unhappy to see many underage persons taking the examination. The management of Taraba State Polytechnic Jalingo has postponed the institution's examination scheduled to commence on Saturday, June 3rd. The postponement followed an attempt by some students that are yet to pay their school fees to write the examination without paying the said fees.
The premises of Taraba State Polytechnic Jalingo was deserted Saturday morning after some students staged a demonstration to protest the decision of the school to deny those who have not paid fees the chance to write examinations.
What I know is that we were in the exam hall writing exams. So all of a sudden, students started writing on what we don't know. So the reason that I know is that it happened because of the exam card and course form. Because it was written in our notice board that if you don't have exam card, you won't be writing exams.
It will not make sense. So that's why the students just are shouting that they will not allow this kind of nonsense to happen, because we are all students and want to graduate. Because I, on my understand, I know that if you went there and write the exam, you have a carryover or you have a summer that you know you write the thing. But the one that you never even sit down in the exam at all, somebody just say you come back for summer, it doesn't make sense.
And actually, I will be very happy if the school management
will put information on time before anything commences. Yes. Because if the school management did not enlighten or create awareness to students before making any implementation, sometimes it will be a problem like this. It will arise this issue, and which students may miss their life, and it can lead to anything that will cause a problem to the society.
The Dean, School of Basic and Applied Sciences, Akimba Peter Atoba, stated that the school had given enough time for students to pay their fees, adding that until the time for exams, most of them are yet to comply.
We were not really strict about the time when they have to pay this school fees. We gave them the grace, an open grace, that even a day prior to the exams, you can still pay your school fees. And that will deny you opportunity of writing examination if fee is not paid.
He said if the students are allowed to write exams without paying their fees, the number of uncollected results and certificates will increase astronomically, a situation he said does not augur well for the institution.
And there is no institution where if you have not paid school fees, you are allowed to write exams. It also goes to the level that some cases where you have not paid your school fees, you will not even be allowed to attend lectures. So those that wrote the examinations were those that actually paid school fees.
So what
and those that were not privileged to write, it was an indication that they didn't pay school fees.
At the time of filing this report, the situation had been brought under control with no casualty recorded.
The 2022 Pan-African Medical Journal report says Nigeria accounts for 100,000 to 150,000 newborns living with sickle cell disease (SCD) annually, accounting for 33% of the global burden of disease. According to the report, access to medical services is a major challenge for the over 4 million Nigerians living with the sickle cell disease. It says poverty and inefficient healthcare centers are some of the reasons the SCD survivors are plunged to further hardship. Ibrahim Ismail speaks to the leadership of Gombe State Sickle Cell Association on their struggle to access healthcare. The report.
Sickle cell disease is a group of disorders that cause red blood cells to become misshapen and break down. The cells die early, leaving a shortage of healthy red blood cells and can block blood flow, causing pain, known as sickle cell crisis. Al-Musanna Ibrahim is a 27-year-old patient of sickle cell disease and organizing secretary, Gombe State Sickle Cell Association. He said life has been very difficult, surviving with sickle cell disorder.
Living with sickle cell anemia is very difficult because we are facing many challenges. I remember that time when I was at home by 3 o'clock having crisis or a lot of pain, and I take my old drugs. It didn't work for the pain, and if we go to the hospital, they will assist me with fluid and blood transfusion.
Medical experts say the burden of sickle cell can be reduced if couples know their genotype before engaging in a marital relationship.
The sickle cell state, if one is avoiding a spouse or a couple with whom he has chances of giving birth to a sickle cell anemic baby, that could reduce the burden of the sickle cell anemia, because the carrier state usually don't present with any clinical features of anemia or any clinical features of complication.
Due to the high cost of managing sickle cell disease, the Gombe State Sickle Cell Association is advocating for the provision of free medical services to sickle cell survivors to ease their sufferings.
Our condition is very difficult. We need a good proper care, as I said. We just need free drugs, and if possible, to approve our healthcare free. In case of crisis, if you go hospital, you get blood and your medicine.
The government should have a way of enrolling them in a form of a health insurance scheme that will cover them. Or if that is difficult, government should have a kind of means by which this sickle cell patient could get registered and get most of their drugs, and when they have complications, most of the surgical or otherwise interventions they need, government should look at making it free for them.
At least 100,000 babies die from sickle cell disorder in Nigeria every year, according to 2014 statistics by the World Health Organization (WHO), making it the #1 sickle cell endemic country in Africa. Ibrahim Ismail, Trust TV News, Gombe.
There is a lot the present administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu needs to address to achieve a target of boosting the nation's economy through agriculture. With the rainy season already here, stakeholders say providing farming inputs and agrochemicals at subsidized rate to farmers will make a great deal. Salis Lawan takes a look at some factors hampering smooth development in the agric value chain. The report.
The rainy season already is here, but farmers say they are yet to receive any form of support from government for their 2023. Capital, labor, machinery, as well as inputs like planting materials and agrochemicals are some major need of farmers to boost their production capacity, as well as help toward improving the economy. As peace gradually returns to the affected communities of Adamawa, farmers and herders in the affected areas have been tasked to embrace the use of alternative dispute resolution to resolve issues rather than resort to confrontations and aggressive combat. Some of them told Trust TV some factors fueling the crisis between farmers and herders, especially on the areas of creation of cattle runs and roads.
Misal wodi burto don daga hander yola don gol to kangol burta hangol nata turwa kamaru meaning kami do be boda min daga for local kamali.
We need government at all levels to look into the area of creating cattle roads that have been turned into farmland and also rehabilitated the cattle ranches. If that is done, I believe farmer-herder clashes will be a thing of the past.
The possible solution is the federal government already did a feasibility studies and at least came with a white paper that we must at least produce a land for herders and also farmers, that is range. So with this, actually, let's try. If you try this, actually the peace must be available.
In the past, there are 5 local governments in the states that are like a battleground. Even passerbys sometimes are being affected because of what is happening there. But I can confidently tell you that peace has returned to these areas because of the actions of our governor and the contributions of all stakeholders.
Stakeholders say they are committed to confronting security challenges that may negatively affect food production in the state, even as they urge both farmers and herders to continue to live in peace and demonstrate tolerance and forgiveness.
It will sanitize, it will bring a peace between the herders and farmers, and they will respect the stakeholders. Whenever there is a problem, they will call their men, they will call their attention and advise them and tell them what to do and what not to do. Each person has his own boundaries. The farmers have their own, the herders have their own. But let them understand their stand. They are driving toward the same intention, same target.
To end the persistent crisis, stakeholders suggest that a new policy framework on the farmers' pastoralist crisis should be developed that is both comprehensive and mutually beneficial to both groups. Salis Lawan, Trust TV News, Yola.
Youth have been identified as harbingers of social reform and societal improvement whose participation is needed to achieve national development goals. To this end, stakeholders have called for a deliberate focus on capacity training for youth on sustainable development goals, with focus on volunteering to them become more useful in the scheme of things. Noel Samson has more.
The Sustainable Development Goals, SDG, aims to transform the world by serving as calls to action to end poverty and inequality, protect the planet, and ensure that all people enjoy health, justice, and prosperity. This justifies the focus on volunteering for development purpose for the youth, who consist of 70% of the nation's population.
Develop the capacity of young men and women who are either underemployed or have not been employed to create the necessary skills that will prepare them for job when it eventually comes. The idea is to create a critical mass of national volunteers among our young men and women who will work as volunteers and develop the skills that will prepare them for work when it eventually comes.
We have seen that volunteerism is a development tool that we can use to create, apart from positive engagement, to create opportunities for young people, to either build skills or learn what we call social skills. There's lifelong learning, opportunities for them to learn how to discover themselves, build confidence, self-esteem, and all of those social skills that help them to grow as individuals. So that's part of what we're doing, trying to achieve with the National Orientation Agency.
With young people representing the future of the country, trainings like this one are seen as critical in achieving the SDGs and enhancing national development. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Meanwhile, the Katsina State Internal Revenue Service, KIRS, has given non-tax compliant banks and other agencies in the state a 2-week ultimatum to remit their taxes. The executive director of the KIRS, Suraja Mohammed, who disclosed this on Saturday in Katsina, said the organizations were owing the state more than 1 billion. According to him, the management of the board on Friday visited the affected banks and agencies to inform them of actions to be taken for failure to settle the debt. He explained that the board had placed a notice of non-compliance at strategic points within the affected banks and agencies for the general public to note. He pointed out that failure to settle the liabilities will result in recovery options without further recourse to these organizations. You're watching News Hour on Trust TV. We will be back after the break. Stay with us.
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back. Now let's join Chiamaka Nwafo for business news.
The National Bureau of Statistics has disclosed that household final consumption grew by negative 12.47% in the fourth quarter of 2022 compared to the 7.30% growth rate of quarter 4 2021. This disclosure was contained in the new Nigerian Gross Domestic Product Report, Expenditure and Income Approach for quarter 3 and quarter 4 2022. And the reason for the negative growth, the NBS blamed inflation and challenging economic conditions in the country. It was also disclosed that while household consumption for the entire 2021 grew 25.65%, it weakened to negative 4.07% in 2022. This consumption, which consists of expenditure incurred by resident households on individual consumption goods and services, accounted for 65.17% of real GDP at market prices in quarter 3 of 2022 and 60.25% in quarter 4 of 2022, according to the NBS. According to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, household spending is the amount of final consumption expenditure made by households to meet their everyday needs such as food, clothing, housing, energy, transport, durable goods, health costs, leisure, and miscellaneous services. There has been a 41% increase in the number of registered agents for mobile money payments in Nigeria, according to a new report. The report titled State of the Industry on Mobile Money Report 2023 was compiled by GSM Association and supported by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. According to the report, globally registered mobile money accounts grew by 13% year-on-year from 1.4 billion in 2021 to 1.6 billion in 2022. However, much of this growth happened in sub-Saharan Africa, where there's a 17% increase in registered accounts, taking its number of users 763 million. Apart from users, financial transactions facilitated by mobile money also witnessed impressive growth within the period under review, with transaction values growing by 22% to $1.26 trillion, up from around $1 trillion in 2021. The market opened for 4 trading days this week as the federal government of Nigeria declared Monday 29th May 2023 as public holiday to commemorate the inauguration of the newly elected president. A total turnover of 2.586 billion shares worth 46.643 billion naira in 35,122 deals was traded this week by investors on the floor of the exchange. The financial services industry, measured by volume, led activity chart, while the conglomerates industry and the consumer goods industry followed in second and third place, respectively. The NGX All-Share Index and market capitalization appreciated by 5.37% to close the week at 55,820.50 and 30.395 trillion naira. 66 equities appreciated in price during the week, with only 3 others depreciating in price, while 67 equities remained unchanged. And that's it on business news. I am Chiamaka Nwafo.
On the foreign scene, at least 288 people were killed and hundreds more injured in a 3-train collision in India Officials said on Saturday is the country's deadliest rail accident in more than 20 years. Wreckage debris was piled high at the crash site near Belarusu in the eastern state of Odisha, where some carriages had been tossed far from the tracks and others flipped over. Entirely smashed train compartments were torn open in the impact late on Friday, leaving blood-stained holes in their sides. Survivor Arjun Das told a Bengali television channel he heard a thundering sound, then saw people falling from overboard. The disaster began when an express train running north from India's tech hub Bengaluru to Kolkata derailed, falling onto the adjacent southbound track. Minutes later, the Coromandel Express heading from Kolkata to Chennai smashed into the wreckage, some of its coaches also colliding with a goods train parked nearby. Sudhanshu Sarangi, Director General of the Odisha Fire Services, said the death toll stood at 288 but was expected to go high, approaching 380. Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has sent a message of commiseration to the government and people of India over the multiple train crash in the country which killed over 280 passengers. Aside those killed, over 900 others were injured in what was one of the worst rail crashes in recent history. President Tinubu, in a statement Saturday signed by Abdulaziz, described the train accident as heart-rending. While consoling the Indian government and families of the victims, Tinubu said his heart goes to the families of those affected in the unfortunate and heart-rending train crash in the Indian state of Odisha. The statement said the magnitude of the crash and the high casualty figure called for global support for India to adequately respond to the calamitous accident. The president sent his condolences to the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the people of India, and the families of those trapped in the crash. Sudanese paramilitary fighters have taken over the National Museum in Khartoum, its deputy director said on Saturday, raising fears for the safety of important artifacts, including ancient mummies, amidst a deadly war. Members of the Rapid Support Forces group that have been fighting the army for 7 weeks for control of Sudan entered the museum on Friday, said Deputy Director Ikhlas Abdulatif, urging combatants to protect the nation's heritage. Museum staff do not know the situation inside the museum because they halted work there after the conflict suddenly erupted on April 15, forcing police guarding the facility to quit, Abdulatif said. The museum, a large building on the banks of the Nile in central Khartoum near the central bank, in an area where some of the fiercest fighting has taken place. Among its thousands of priceless relics are embalmed mummies dating to 2500 BC, making them among the oldest and archaeologically most important in the world. The museum also contains statues, pottery, and ancient murals with artifacts from the Stone Age through to the Christian and Islamic eras, and former director Hatim Al-Nur. And now news reaching us, immediate past secretary to Borno State government Usman Jidashi, who is dead. Shua, who until May 20th SSG, died on Saturday after a brief illness. According to family source, said the late SSG died at the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital UMTH. Shua is a seasoned administrator with a long-standing track record of working at both state and federal levels. Born 1958, he died at the age of 65. And may his soul rest in peace. And now on sports news, Remo Stars twice rallied to hold Enyimba to a 2-2 draw in the opening game of the Nigerian Premier League Super 6 playoffs. No goal was recorded in the first half despite both teams creating clear-cut opportunities. Enyimba scored the first goal of the game on the hour mark through Adele Irigo. The lead lasted for 14 minutes before substitute Gino Lacusa restored parity for Remo Stars. The league top scorer Emeka Obiama restored Enyimba's lead from the spot. 9 minutes from time, Captain Ndoka Jr. equalized for Remo Stars for the second time in the game. Deep into stoppage time, Enyimba will take on Lobby Stars in their next game. while Remo Stars will be off against Rivers United. Manchester City are one game away from a historic treble after Ilkay Gundogan scored twice to beat Manchester United 2-1 in the FA Cup final on Saturday. Pep Guardiola's men completed a domestic double at Wembley and can become just the second side after United in 1998 to 1999 to win the Premier League, FA Cup and Champions League in the same season should they beat Inter Milan to become European champions for the first time on June 10th. Gundogan scored the fastest goal in FA Cup final history after just 12 seconds. United leveled on 33 minutes through Bruno Fernandes' penalty after Jack Grealish was harshly penalized for handball. But the City captain, in what could be his final game for the club on English soil with his contract expiring at the end of the season, volleyed home the winner 6 minutes into the second half. The first ever major final between the Manchester Giants had the most explosive of starts. With that, we have come to the end of the Trust News Hour. Do not forget to follow us across all our media platforms, our YouTube live stream. I am Abdurrahman Omar. Thanks for watching and bye for now.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.